This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead! I am your captain, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me first mate, me skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, welcome Mozz, and welcome back to Full Stream Ahead, the all-for-you streaming review show that me and Mozz have put together out of love. Tonight's episode, Agent Carter, Season 2, Episode 3, Better Angels. Peggy's pursuit of the truth about Zero Matter places her on a collision course with her superiors. Our director this week is David Platt. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, of course, getting those based on Marvel Comics by credits. And then Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely get our created bys. Jose Molina gets our written by, and our hardest working person in show business this week, executive story editor, Sue Chung. Okay. So this is an interesting episode. At the end of last episode, for those who recall, it's been a little while since we've broadcast, so kind of took a little week hiatus because we had the big double episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. over on Enough Said.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we're back. And being back, we do want to catch you up on last week's episode, which dealt with essentially a bunch of people trying to murder Peggy and Dr. Wilkes and, yes, Jason Wilkes, played by the great Reggie Austin. And Dr. Wilkes confronting Whitney Frost, played by Wynn Everett, in the Isodyne Labs, and then wackiness ensues as the Zero Matter gets dropped, and an explosion ensues, which left poor Dr. Wilkes missing, presumed disincorporated, and our little Whitney Frost with an odd scar on the upper corner of her forehead. Bum, bum, bum. This episode opens up with Peggy and Sousa going to Dr. Wilkes' house where the team has ransacked it, and they find the gun that killed the previous SSR agents under Dr. Wilkes' mattress. They also find a loose floorboard that was in the middle of the floor, so very easy to walk on, where a phony passport and $10,000 in cash and one-way tickets to Soviet Russia, bum, 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 were hidden. Because he's a spy, a no-good commie spy, Mozz, I tell you. But, of course, Peggy's having none of that because she says, yes, a brilliant spy who has infiltrated the most secure lab in the United States hid all of the evidence that he was a spy in the most obvious places to look. So that's a pretty good argument, one imagines, but, again, this is a situation where people are trying to make the story go away.
Right.
Peggy is when she's back at the SSR location, and I believe, is Thompson there yet, or does he come in a little later?
I think he comes in a little later.
I know that when when he gets there, he says, "Oh."
Or no, he's waiting in. I think he's sitting in Sousa's desk, right?
Susan's office. Yeah. So he's
Right,
at Sousa's
right.
desk. Big power move, of course. Says, about time you guys showed up. It's like, well, they were at the case, and Sousa's giving the party line that this was this and this was that. Case is solved. Peggy, you're coming back to New York. You are assigned to my bureau. You're coming back. She explains to him the issues with the Arena Club because we got introduced to. Wait, actually, do we get introduced? Or is that in this episode?
I think that's the next one.
I'm trying to think here because she had mentioned. Oh, she had snuck into the Arena Club. See, now I'm getting confused because
I think that happens in the next episode.
Because she saw, because in the previous episode,
right,
she saw the newspaper, so that had to be there. Okay, so yeah, it's a little confusing here because I'm trying to remember exactly how that played out. Now.
Oh no, she does do it this episode. She
does go into the Arena Club.
Yeah, to plant the device.
To plant the device because they break in with the ladies. Yeah. So, okay. So anyway, but when they're there, and sorry. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I'm just so many things are going on.
Yeah.
Because she sees the newspaper, and that becomes essential because she has to tell Tompkins that the newspaper says that the previous the opposition to Chadwick is dropping out of the election, and it says he ankles the election.
Right.
And that's going to be important that he's going to see that later when he gets invited to the Arena Club. But getting back to the case, we have Peggy realizing that she's been infected with zero matter because stuff starts floating around her.
Right.
And they rapidly go to Howard Stark because he's the only scientist she knows. And man, I'm trying to. Okay, now I'm remembering what it is. Okay, so she goes to see Howard Stark after all this. Goes to the Kid Colt location. I just watched this today. You'd think I'd remember more about it too. Goes to the Kid Colt location where he's shooting the historical drama Kid Colt, and he explains, how, that filmmaking is really just science, and that's why he's going to beat all these other guys at it because he knows more about science. So they're getting their little Howard Hughes thing going with his. Okay, Tristan, calm down. I'm trying to keep my mind straight here. Okay, so that's my landlord is lowering my rent next week, so that's good too.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Yes, well, I've been running a lot of errands for her, and so she's been thankful. Yes. Just can you move can you move over there with the thing? Just unplug it and plug it in over there. It's okay, buddy. Anyway, so where was I? Yes.
So they take their meeting with Howard, and Howard decides, hey, we can break into the club. They tried to recruit me several times, and I don't want to join their boring club because there's no ladies in there.
No ladies.
Mr. Howard Stark. He likes to indulge in them ladies.
He does like the ladies, and I can't say as I blame him.
No.
And he gets Peggy in there as one of the ladies, and she sneaks in because she's a spy, so she's great at infiltration.
But the device malfunctions.
Yes.
And a big old goon is close to catching her.
Yes, okay.
And she crushes it, so I guess they had some sort of an anti-spycraft device or something.
Well, yeah, so they must have had a thing where they're anti-listening, which makes sense if you're like this team of super rich paranoid manipulators, the reptilian and the rodentia, as Howard calls them. They're going to have some kind of system to protect themselves.
Right.
And so as a result of that, and that's when, see, now I'm remembering what happens. That's when he goes to, that's when, after this is when they go to Thompson, and Thompson says, "You have no evidence, there's nothing we can do with this," which leads to what happens next episode. And that's where she tells Tompkins that that's what she saw in the newspaper. And he's not buying any of it. But in the meantime, they go. That's when Peggy realizes she's been infected with zero matter. She goes back to Howard. Howard basically realizes there's someone else there, and just brilliantly, as he does, opens up basically creates a chemical concoction to make an invisible and intangible man invisible. So, it surprises me that, he didn't write that down for his son. It might have came in handy if he, with the vision. I don't know. That's like, if you ever had that, that could have been useful. But in the meantime, that's where they really start discussing the zero matter. They show Tony Stark the experimental video. Oh, actually, no, Tompkins. He sees the experimental video because they had actually already shown that to Tony Howard in the first couple of scenes. So Howard knows what's going on. Tompkins knows what's going on, and this is the bit of redemption that you get for Tompkins is, when his friend shows up and asks him about pieces of evidence that might be not properly cataloged, he does not say it's there. He doesn't come right up with him because he knows something's up. He knows something is not what it's supposed to be. And he's not going to be as forthcoming with this person because he has come to understand that things are a little more, that the person he thinks he should trust, has suddenly shown up out of the blue. Why is this guy here? He didn't know I was going to be here. He didn't know what I was up to. Why is he here? And I think, for all of its struggles, Thompson wants to be the good guy. I think he wants to be the good guy, but he's always frustrated by his own fear of losing his status. He's always afraid that, which is why he can't be the hero. He's not really willing to risk as much as others, which is both, his heart is in the right place. He even says that later when he finally does decide to give the film over to Vernon Masters, Kurtwood Smith, that, he only wants to do what's right for his country, because it'd be dangerous in the wrong hands. Well, are our hands the right hands? It's in our hands right now. Why are your hands better than my hands is the question that, he should be asking, but he does not.
The most you can hope for is that he recognizes what the situation finally is. I don't think he has really much control in the matter. He has to turn that over. The guy outranks him clearly. He's much higher. And you need to keep your cards close to the chest if you want to continue to play the game. So I think the only thing we can hope for is that he is sincere, at least in admitting to himself that there's a problem.
Yeah. Well, and I do think he's getting there. It's a growth passage. And that's the thing, because I know that in the previous episode you had felt that they really did dirty by Tompkins.
Yeah, I still think they did. But it's I think a lazy route for them because they're just making him go through like the same emotional progress that he went through in the last season. It's like, oh, here we are. Well, maybe that's just the kind of person he is, I guess, but
yeah, well, like I said, it really comes down to the question of whether or not you think he really got better last season or if it was really just, oh, well, You know, I want to be a better person, but at the same time, you know, I gotta take care of me. You know, it's the idea that it's not so much that he doesn't want to be the better person; it's that he feels in his own mind that if he takes care of everybody else, then everybody else will be taken care of, and he can be taken care of too. That his goal is to do the right thing, so long as the right thing is helpful to him.
Yeah.
You know, and that is different from just someone who just wants to do what's good for themselves. You know, the history is full of people who put themselves first, but also wanted to do the right thing. And they actually got the chance to do the right things, and they did the right things when the time came. You know, Tompkins can do good and does do good, but at the same time, he's also not going to put himself out there as much as he could. And I think that is the thing. It isn't that he is not a good person; it's that he is also something of a coward. And I think that's the real truth of it. That this guy who is, and I think that's meant to be kind of that comparison with a guy like Sousa, where Sousa is always at the disadvantage. You know, he is not Captain America. He is the anti-Captain America in the fact that he is, you know, he's still fairly capable even with only one leg, but he still only has one leg. You know, he still has enough limitations that, you know, he knows people are always going to be seeing him as the 98-pound Steve Rogers, and he always has to be willing to fight, and that he's willing to sacrifice himself in that fight. He doesn't care if he loses his job, if he loses his position, you know. And I think that is what makes Sousa really a hero, which I think is important in where Sousa winds up when we get to a show like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where he was on this season, where it really is that he was this hero. He really was the Captain America type. That he would have been the guy who would have, you know, made sure that the right thing was done. And not, you know, that him succeeding was less important than the good of the mission succeeding. And I think that is the defining aspect of...
I guess, yeah. I mean, there's another way to look at it. It's like the other perspective to take would be that what lines is he willing to cross? And what lines is he not willing to cross? You know, it's like he knows he's doing something wrong, but how wrong is he willing to be? He knows he's wrong the whole time. But when it comes to, like, you know, okay, if I actually think this will hurt the country, I can't be that, you know, terrible of a person. At that point, I gotta, you know. So, I mean, I guess there's a tiny bit of... Thompson.
Thompson, yeah.
Thompson,
yes. Yeah.
So it's not, you know, Thompson was the one you were referring to as a coward, right?
Yes, Thompson. Yes.
Right. So that's what I mean. Like he's a coward, but like you can't grant him with too much leniency in whether or not he's a good person or whether he wants to be. Maybe it's not that he wants to be a good person, but how bad is he comfortable being? He's not comfortable being ultimately terrible and evil, you know, but he's willing to be pretty bad. So that's the other perspective you can take on the same, you know, decision-making process. There's two ways to look at it, but, you know, I guess...
I think what we come back to is this idea that, you know, and I kind of think of it, especially in terms of a character like John Walker. And I think maybe he's kind of a John Walker type. John Walker is U.S. agent. He was Captain America's replacement when Cap was forced to step down by the Commission on Superhero Activities in the 80s. If you scroll down to Comics Capers, you'll listen to me and Lilith and Phil talk about the entire mess of U.S. Agent stories. And U.S. Agent is going to be in the new Falcon and Winter Soldier series. Or as I like to call it, the Captain America and Bucky series. As the replacement Captain America after Cap has been retired.
Right.
So, you know, and the thing about John Walker is he isn't a bad guy, but he very much is. He very much is the very right-wing kind of. He's the kind of person that would see, the law as an end unto itself, rather than something that is in place for the good of society, and that he would say, no, the law is the law. You do this and you follow these rules, and everything will be fine. And not being really willing to accept the idea that sometimes the laws need to be skirted and broken for the greater good. And a guy like Cap, honestly, he does respect the law and he does respect all these things, but he also knows that sometimes bad people can find themselves in powerful positions, and then it is up to you to rebel. Then it is up to you to fight back.
Right. I think with Cap, it's like, I think he says that he believes that there's an innate sense that each of us has, that you know what's right or wrong, and you don't need anyone to tell you. And you just do what that instinct tells you to do. I don't think it's more complex than that.
Yeah.
And laws and all these things and ideas and arguments that people can have about what's right or wrong is irrelevant. You know in your heart of heart, in that moment, what the right thing to do is, and just do that.
Yeah, and that is definitely, I think, where Cap is coming from with most of that. And, I would like to think that is a positive for him. But Tompkins, he's more the guy who, like I said, I do not believe that, even though and this is the thing, U.S. Agent, he is very much this guy who, that, that 2016 Trump supporter, because I think you could deal with those guys in 2016, where he saw the idea of corrupt institutions and someone saying they're going to do right in it. And you can see how easily they're persuaded by it, Because not for nothing, I will say this, although I never for a moment really thought Trump would be a good president, I could see how someone could think that. And I even thought, hey, you know what? I know he's a con artist, but he's going to grow into the office, and he's going to say, you know what? Okay, I got here maybe in a shady way, but now I'm here, and I know I got to do right by the country, and I know I got to unite the country, and I know I got to really live up to my promise to deal with all this partisan stuff, because I don't care about the parties. I care about getting stuff done. And, unfortunately, what he wanted to get done was bad things, and so bad things happened. So, but I can. I
also see the allegory of the golem. You unleash a monster to sort of out of anger or out of whatever that you don't really understand, and then all of a sudden now you have to be responsible for all of the fallout and consequences of this. But you've made up your mind. You've dug in your heels. You can't go back on your word. So what do? Hey, toss our lot in, and we're going to ride this train till the wheels fall off. And that's where we are, I think.
Yeah. Boy, those wheels are pretty loose right now. But anyway, so I do see Tompkins in that, or Thompson. I always want to call him Tompkins.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Because it's Thompson, Jack Thompson. I think the K in the Jack, I want to put it into the Thompson. But yes, so Jack Thompson, played by the great Chad Michael Murray, who's a very handsome man, which I think is one of the reasons they cast him for this. This is his.
Yeah, and I guess that's fair, because they just wanted a good-looking face. They didn't want to give him any real emotional arc, or even if they did, we're like, we're going to take it right back.
Yeah, well, I think what they wanted was someone that, and it's the Gaston premise, that in any other fairy tale, the big, handsome, popular guy, that's your Prince Charming.
Right.
But once you realize how shallow they are, you realize, oh, you're not really the prince. You're not really the person who is here to save us. You're actually just a shallow reflection of it. You are what people think of as the hero, which opens lots of doors for you, but you really aren't the hero. And I guess the live action Beauty and the Beast, and maybe other things that they're going to be doing in future stuff, where there is this idea that Gaston was a war hero, or at least was thought to be, and that a lot of his troubles could be from PTSD and things like that. Because for what it's worth, we do know that Thompson also suffers from PTSD for the thing he did. And that's one of those things about PTSD, is those things you do in a moment can haunt you and eat at you and make you question everything about yourself. And then once you make that choice, how do you come back from it? I think there is a parallel with this kid, just to get into the news right now, who shot the protesters in Kenosha recently. He's a 17-year-old kid, and I have no sympathy for him, but at the same time, I can have empathy for how a kid gets his brain twisted around, does something that is going to haunt him for the rest of his life, and that I can honestly feel that he probably had a vision of himself that almost immediately fell apart, and now it's going to be, and I could be completely wrong, he could be just a stone cold sociopath, and we'll find that out in the coming weeks on this show. But
I think a lot of these people have convinced themselves that they're living in a fantasy. It's like, live action role playing. This is the end time. I have to be the one. The mantle of responsibility falls on me. We got to protect the yada yada yada, and it's just mass delusion that's happening to people, and everybody wants to sign up to play this live action role playing game until people get killed.
Well, and that's the problem, is that eventually reality strikes back, and suddenly, you aren't the hero, although there's obviously a lot of talking heads in the media that want to perpetuate the fantasy for whatever reason, and God only knows why. I mean, they're loud and they're on the internet, and I get that. The internet is basically, it is at times where the most loudest and insane voices get amplified, and on all sides of every issue. But
at the same time, it does also, that stuff wouldn't be popular if people weren't watching it. It is a reflection of us as a society. It is born off of our feelings and our intentions, and so I think the way to fix that is to fund our education. Stop defunding our education.
Yeah, well, that's the thing,
That's the first step to fix any of this.
Fund the teachers. Fund the schools.
Please, it's like that's the only thing that's going to fix anything. That's the only thing that's going to supply the next generation with the critical thinking skills to be able to make important decisions without falling prey to emotionally baiting tactics.
Exactly, and that is that.
I don't know how we got here.
We're I got lost in this at the start, and because really there's a lot that goes on in this, and a lot of it is, with Chadwick, and because you have these parallel tracks. You have Peggy getting attacked by the person sent to deal with her, because of course Peggy shows up at Whitney Frost's studio. And, then she goes to her husband to say she thought he was going to arrest her right then. She has a nice little crying jag with him. He sends his goon. She, of course, beats up the goon. Although, for what it's worth, the goon gets some good shots in. So I love that they show how capable she is without underplaying how capable other people are, and how she is always an underdog in these fights. Yeah, and that's a great thing.
That's a really good point. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and it's because it's an important point, because it's it's so easy to make her the super backflipping. It's so easy to make her the Black Widow.
Right.
And if you ever see the in it's Iron Man 2 where Natasha and Happy are going in to the
ring.
Streets. No. When they go into Hammer Industries, and Happy's like punching this guy, and it's just like this real bare knuckle haymaker, and he's just like just beating this guy, and the guy's beating back at him, and then meanwhile the 10 other guys, Black Girl just completely whips the floor with him, and finally Happy knocks out the last guy, and he goes, "Okay, I got that one." And I'm
Good job.
So yeah, it's but hey, he did do his part. It's not like he didn't go in there ready to fight. And if he had to take on more than one guy, that's a different type of fighting. He might have adapted his style. Natasha went in with the style of, which, as you know, if you ever watched The Princess Bride, it is a different way you fight when you fight 10 men than one. So Natasha takes out the 10 men, he takes out the one. And I think sometimes that puts her at that superhuman level, and I like the fact that it's recognized, Peggy does not have the serum. She is not a superhuman. She is always fighting and punching up. She's always going to be punching up. And she's always going to be looking for the way to, get underneath the guy so that she can punch up.
Yeah, and I think it's also her mind, her will to not give up that carries her through a lot of situations. And it's like she never turns to violence or physical power to get things, so that when it is required of her, she puts everything into it. So it's not a trivial thing for her to get to that point, but when she does, it is a formidable thing to encounter.
Exactly. Anyway, so that brings us to pretty much the end of this episode. Howard.
And then Thompson has to see the newspaper here.
Yeah, Thompson sees. Yeah, and that's when he knows that he's being played. That's when Thompson knows he's being played. And likewise in these scenes, and of course Thompson's being brought into the Arena Club, which is also this whole entire idea where he realizes, these are the people that Peggy says are the evil cabal that's running everything, that's doing all these things, and everything that Peggy said is true, and he gets to see that, and that is the difficulty for him in this, and because he realizes he got played. I think no. I think he knew he was wanting to be on the other side. He wanted to be the one playing the game. So when he was doing these things for Kurtwood, he thought he was the one doing the playing, or at least he was on the team that was doing the playing. And he was fine with a lot of what they were doing, but it just got to a point, I think, where he's like, okay, that part I'm really not fine with. So now I really can't take part in all these things that I was looking forward to being able to take part in. I think that's what he's upset about. Well, what I think is it's the idea that so and I guess that's a difference in how you can see it. I see it that he actually did feel that for everything else, that up until that moment he's kind of convinced himself, no, I know Masters, I know Vernon Masters, he's a friend of the family. We've been through all this kind of stuff. I don't think this guy is doing what he's doing except with the best interests of America at heart. However, when you get to the idea of the people manipulating things behind the scenes, and of which, a subverting democracy.
Right. I think that's what pulls him back. That's what's like that. I've been willing to cross a lot of lines so far, but that's a line I don't think I'm willing to cross. And exactly. That's what I think he's mad at. So
yeah, and that is where that is what it is. It's like we've crossed this line. We're no longer in a spot where I feel like we're doing what's right for the country, for what's right for me. I think that this has gotten out of hand, and that's where we find that. And
I love the little moment at the end, where he asks Souza out to a drink on his last night before he goes back, and so I was like, no. Yeah, I don't respect you as a person. I don't like you. And he has to confront that. And it's like, there's no way for him to run away from that moment. He has to stand there and bathe in it and burn in it. And it's so, like, sad, but satisfying, but also sad to watch. This guy just with his head hanging down, have to face the music and be like, yeah, next time, of course. And he walks out. Oh.
Yeah. There's a lot of great things. But the big reveal at the end is Whitney Frost's powers. Because basically throughout all of this, she's thinking about dropping out of the film. And it's interesting, she's thinking about dropping out of the film because she just doesn't want to be dealing with this right now. Then she actually gets fired. And now she's upset, So it's kind of an ironic thing there. But what I like about that is the guy then says, no, I fought for you. I said, that's my star. I'm not going to let her go. And then it's like, now what are you going to do for me? And what he does for her or what she does for him is engulf him in zero matter and swallow him whole, which is, in its own way, kind of a delightful. It plays on a lot of sexual terror ideas that are quite popular in mythos. The idea of being swallowed up in, really its own way. So I like that is how the episode ends. And Howard Stark has dropped out. He's only in this episode. It's kind of a little annoying because, he comes in, he's trying to figure out, how to cure Wilkes, is basically hopping himself up on coffee beans, and then realizes he has to go see his old professor, Dr. Aubrey, and that writes him out. So the rest of the next episode is just going to be our friends Sousa, Wilkes, Jarvis, and Peggy. So, any final thoughts on tonight's episode, Mozz?
No, I think we got to it. I think this was a really good one.
Well, yeah, I think it was a good one too. I think, like I said, I really love this show. I love Peggy Carter. I was so disappointed I love that we got Sousa. I was a little disappointed we couldn't get Hallie Atwell into the final season of Agents. I really hope they do something with her eventually. Although she is coming back in the What If, so she's going to be in the cartoon Disney Plus universes, so we'll see her there. In the meantime, you folks at home, you probably like listening to this show, and if you do, I certainly hope you are doing that on Tweaked Audio headsets. Tweaked Audio headsets are a sponsor of the show, and they make fantastic headsets. If you go there right now, you can use this coupon code Southgate to get, I believe it is 15% off your order. Might be 10%. Check it at checkout. When you go to tweakedaudio.com. Likewise, if you love getting discounts, use that same discount code Southgate at hunttokiller.com, where Michelle Gray is looking for assistance in solving a cold case, and you can help her do so at hunttokiller.com. And if none of that interests you, what could interest you is pretty much everything else in the universe, which you can buy over at Amazon. You can do that by going down into our show notes, clicking on the Amazon link. It's going to take you there. They're going to know who sent you, and they're going to be very grateful to us, and it costs you nothing. And so that's a great thing. And while you're there, check out Pod Life, the book. That is the book written by the Southgate Media Network crew about all the things podcastery and otherwise. All right, Mozz. So in the meantime, if someone would like to talk to you about podcastery, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzoor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzoor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And if you'd like to write to me in that old-fashioned email way where Mozz and Buzz wants to do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet. Nothing really, but I might. You never know. I might start tweeting. I could tweet whenever I want to because I have an account at Twitter, and it's at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. Thank you, Mozz.
Yep.
All right, me hearties, you've sailed the seas of the digital streaming services with us once more. Please disembark now, but hold us in your hearts, and in 1 week come back and board again, and we will sail full stream ahead. Arr.
Hard.